there's a harsh truth you'll have to face sooner or later. No one is coming to save you. No heroes, no miracles, and no perfect timing will knock on your door. This world is busy, indifferent, and sometimes cold. But in that moment of awakening, when you stop waiting, stop blaming, everything truly begins. You won't change your life through waiting, but through action. The greatest turning point doesn't come from the outside, but from within. When you redirect all your scattered energy into a single focus yourself, no more comparisons, no more seeking validation. That's when your journey of inner growth begins. A Stoic knows this well. True freedom begins with self-mastery. It's not the circumstances that define you, but the way you choose to live. And now, let us explore 10 timeless lessons from Stoic philosophy as guiding lights for the path you've chosen. Once you decide, I will focus on myself until I win. 1. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. Have to save yourself. There is a moment in every person's life, quiet, uncomfortable, often unwelcome, when they finally realize no one is coming. No one is coming to rescue them from the weight of their regrets, the fear of their potential, or the consequences of their inaction. That moment, bitter as it may seem, is also the beginning of everything. Because the truth is, you've been waiting for the right time, the perfect plan, the approval from someone else to tell you you're ready. But life doesn't operate on your schedule of convenience. The world doesn't pause until you feel confident. And the longer you wait, the further you drift from the life you could be living. Stoicism cuts through the illusion with sharp precision. Your freedom begins where your excuses end. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. In those few words lies a revelation. No one can hand you peace. No one can give you strength. Both must be built within. Let's unpack that. If you don't control outside events, then waiting for them to align is wasted life. But if you do control your mind, your focus, your discipline, your response, then your greatest power is already with you. It always has been. Still, it's tempting to hope, to believe someone will finally understand you, finally see your worth, and finally give you permission to begin. But Stoicism reminds us that hope is a trap. The belief that salvation comes from the outside is the root of powerlessness. It is the source of prolonged suffering, of passive living. The moment you stop outsourcing your responsibility is the moment you start reclaiming your freedom. This is not a message of despair. It's a call to agency. When you stop waiting for ideal conditions, you begin creating them. When you stop asking for validation, you begin building conviction. You become the one steering the ship, no longer tossed around by every wave of opinion or obstacle. Yes, it's hard. It demands presence. It requires discipline, but so does regret. The Stoics never promised ease. They promised clarity. And the clearest truth is this: you are the answer you've been waiting for, the discipline you avoid. It's the doorway. The discomfort you fear. It's the forge. You don't need more time. You need to choose. Because every moment you delay is a moment you give away. Is one of your greatest teachers. It sharpens you. It strips away illusion. It forces you to confront your limitations and rise above them. Every setback has the potential to become the soil where strength is rooted. Failure teaches discipline. It teaches humility. It teaches resilience. No one grows by winning all the time, and yet so many people fear failure more than they fear mediocrity. But what if mediocrity doesn't come from failure at all? What if it comes from something far more subtle, far more dangerous? Distraction. That's the real enemy. Not the dramatic fall, but the silent drift. Not the loud crash, but the slow fade. Distraction doesn't shout. It whispers. It convinces you that there's still time, that scrolling for 5 more minutes won't matter, that you can always start tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes never. While failure challenges you, distraction numbs you. It doesn't just delay your goals, it dissolves them. It doesn't break your dream, it buries it under notifications, comparisons, dopamine hits, and the endless noise of the world pulling you away from yourself. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And he was right. Time isn't the issue. Focus is. What you give your attention to, you give your life to. And if your attention is constantly hijacked by meaningless content, by other people's opinions, by every flicker of novelty, you are surrendering your most precious resource, your presence. Distraction is theft. It steals not just your time, but your potential, your ability to go deep, your ability to grow, your ability to become someone you can truly respect. Failure may knock you down, but at least you're on the battlefield. Distraction. It keeps you off the field entirely. It convinces you to stay comfortable, stay passive, stay scrolling until one day you look up and wonder where your edge went, where your energy went, where you went. And by then, the cost is no longer just missed opportunities. It's a lost sense of self. The Stoics warned of this long ago, not because they hated pleasure or enjoyment, but because they understood the price of scattering the mind. They understood that clarity is power, and power only comes to the one who guards their attention like a warrior protects a gate. So if you failed, good. You were in the arena. You tried, you learned, you can build from that. But if you've been truly distracted, then you must wake up, because no one is coming to save your focus but you. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. Every time you choose to turn inward, to train your attention, to hold your mind still while the world screams for your reaction, you are reclaiming your life, one breath at a time. And that leads us to the next truth. If distraction is the enemy, then focus must become your weapon. But how do you train it? How do you protect your inner clarity in a world designed to steal it? Let's talk about it. 4. Train your focus. Guard your mind. Train your focus. Guard your mind. Your focus is your most valuable currency, not your time, not your energy. Focus is what turns time into meaning, energy into results. In a world designed to steal your attention, every ping, every scroll, every opinion screaming for your mental real estate training, your focus is not optional. It is survival. You must learn to guard your mind like a fortress, not with walls of steel, but with discipline, with intention. You cannot expect to grow, to win, to rise, while your mind is pulled in 100 directions. Most people lose, not because they're weak, but because they are distracted. The battle is rarely external. It is fought inside every single day. and it is lost quietly in the moments you scroll instead of study, complain instead of commit, compare instead of create. Distraction is theft. It robs you of your future and sells it back to you in the form of cheap pleasure. And when you give in again and again, something inside you begins to erode. Not all at once, but slowly. Your self-rust, your discipline, your purpose. You start to forget who you were trying to become. And so you train your focus just like a warrior trains his sword arm. Repetition, resistance, refinement. You learn to sit with boredom, to walk through discomfort, to say no without guilt. Because the mind, left untrained, will chase every noise, every flashing light. But the mind, when disciplined, becomes a weapon, precise, clear, unstoppable. This isn't about perfection, it's about protection. You protect your mind from the noise of social media, from the clutter of meaningless opinions, from the poison of comparison. Not because you are fragile, but because your vision is sacred, and sacred things must be guarded. Ask yourself, how much of your life have you already given away to things that don't matter? How many days blurred into weeks chasing validation you didn't even need? How often have you let someone else's voice become louder than your own? Now is the time to reclaim it. The focus, the stillness, the mind that once dreamed clearly before the world got too loud. You owe it to yourself to return to that place of clarity, of inner command. Because when you protect your mind, you protect your direction. And when you protect your direction, you multiply your power. Train your focus, guard your mind. Because without that, all effort is scattered. But with it, you become inevitable, calm, sharp, dangerous, not to others, but to every excuse that ever tried to hold you back. And when that happens, the world doesn't need to change because you have. Don't quit. That's the foundation of resilience. 5. Don't quit. That's the foundation of resilience. Success is not born in sparks of excitement. It does not rise from the noise of applause or the rush of motivation at the beginning. It is forged in silence, in the lonely hours, in the invisible seasons when no one is watching, and you continue anyway. That's where resilience is built. That's where greatness grows, its roots deep, unseen, unshaken. Many people believe they fail because they lack talent, but the truth is harsher. Most people fail because they quit too soon. They confuse boredom with a dead end. They mistake discomfort for a warning sign. But a Stoic sees beyond the surface. A Stoic knows that pain is not the enemy. Quitting is. Seneca once wrote, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. That's the cost of drifting. That's the price of quitting midway." When you give up, you don't just lose progress, you lose direction. You become a ship without a compass, floating wherever the currents of doubt and distraction pull you. True resilience is not loud. It's not pretty. It doesn't come with fireworks or fanfare. It's quiet. It's the moment you decide to keep going even when your mind whispers, "What's the point?" It's waking up when no one demands it. Training when no one sees it. Rebuilding yourself when the world has forgotten you. There will be days when your efforts feel invisible, when your growth is happening underground. Like seeds in the soil, you may see nothing on the surface, no recognition, no reward, just hard work and silence. But that's where the real transformation begins. the invisible seasons are sacred. They are the furnace where your character is refined. You don't build resilience by winning once. You build it by refusing to lose to your own excuses again and again. One more rep, one more page, one more quiet promise to keep going. You don't have to be extraordinary. You just have to not quit, because the truth is, everyone feels like giving up, but not everyone does. And that choice, the quiet, consistent choice to stay in the fight, is what will separate you. Discipline is louder than motivation, and commitment outlasts inspiration. So if today is hard, good. Let it be hard. Let it shape you. Let it strip away the parts of you that only wanted the reward without the struggle. You are not here to quit. You are here to endure, to adapt, to rise again and again until resilience becomes your nature, not just your strategy. And now, as we reach the halfway point of this journey together, I want to thank you. Truly, if you're still watching, it means something in you refuses to quit. You didn't just click in for noise, you stayed for truth. That matters, that's rare, and that's powerful. But we're not done yet, not even close. The next lesson will take us even deeper. True confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself. It's where resilience meets self-respect and where real power begins. So stay with me, watch to the end, and if this message speaks to something inside you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs it. Let's keep going together. 6. True confidence comes from keeping. True confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself. Promises to yourself. Confidence is not built in the spotlight. It is not handed to you through applause, praise, or the approval of others. It is forged in silence when no one is watching, through the quiet, often painful act of keeping your word to yourself. Every time you say, "I will," and you follow through, something powerful happens inside you. Trust, not in luck, not in external validation, but in your own ability to show up when it matters. Real confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to announce itself. It walks with you in the gym at 5 o'clock a.m. when the bed is warm and the world is still asleep. It whispers in your ear when resistance screams for you to quit. And most importantly, it shows up when the stakes are low, when no one would know if you skipped, delayed, or compromised, because you would know, and that is enough. Each time you break a promise to yourself, even the smallest one, you send a signal to your subconscious. My word means nothing. You teach yourself that your intentions are optional, that your standards can be negotiated, that your dreams can wait, but they can't. And you know it. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us centuries ago, do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. It's a brutal truth, and it is meant to wake you up. Because here's the thing, procrastination is not just laziness, it's self-betrayal. Every time you delay doing what you said you would do, you're not just wasting time. You're voting for a weaker version of yourself. And the more votes you cast, the more that version becomes who you are. That's how identity is formed. Not by what you say, but by what you consistently do. Confidence, then, is not a feeling you wait for. It is a reputation you build with yourself, one promise at a time. When you say you'll write for 30 minutes and you actually do it, confidence grows. When you plan to wake up at dawn and you rise despite the voice begging for 5 more minutes, confidence grows. When you choose the hard path over the easy one, not once but repeatedly, confidence becomes a part of you. And let's be clear, this is not about perfection. You will slip, you will miss, you will fall short. But the Stoic path is not about never falling. It's about never surrendering. It's about returning to your commitments, not because someone else expects you to, but because you expected of yourself. That's the difference. That's the shift. When you live that way, you no longer need hype or motivation. You don't need cheering. You don't need someone to tell you you're enough. You know you are because you've earned it. In the end, confidence is not found. It is proven in the battlefield of your daily decisions. So, the next time you're tempted to quit on yourself, remember this. No one else is watching but you are. And you are the one person you cannot afford to disappoint. 7. Inner silence is where strength. Inner silence is where strength is born. Inner silence is where strength is born. In a world addicted to noise, to reaction, to constant stimulation, silence has become a lost art and inner silence a forgotten strength. But the Stoics knew better. They understood that in the absence of noise, the truth of the self begins to speak. They knew that the loudest battle is not the one outside, but the one within. The war against distraction, self-doubt, and the compulsion to seek validation from the crowd. We scroll to escape, speak to, avoid, consume to fill the emptiness. But none of it works. Not for long, because the truth has a way of waiting, and it speaks not in chaos, but in stillness. When you choose silence, you don't just mute the world. You invite the self. You allow space for the mind to settle, to see things clearly, to make decisions, not from impulse, but from principle. You begin to notice how much of your time, your energy, your life has been given away to opinions, to gossip, to comparison. But in a silence, it gives that power back. In silence, you return home. You stop running. You stop reacting. You start responding with clarity, with intent, with courage. That is the birthplace of strength. The Stoics saw focus not as a technique, but as a duty. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "No here you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." In that line is everything. The invitation to retreat inward, not to escape the world, but to re-enter it with discipline. When you are silent, you are not passive. You are listening. You are sharpening. You are preparing to act from alignment, not anxiety. Most people speak before they think. Most people act to be seen. But the Stoic thinks before he speaks, aligns before he acts, and does not need applause to validate his movement. Inner silence does not mean withdrawal. It means direction. It is the pause before the strike, the breath before the battle. It is what turns noise into signal, chaos into purpose. It is where you discover what you stand for, what matters, what doesn't, what deserves your time, and what must be left behind. And in that process, you grow. You are no longer a puppet of the world, but the sculptor of your mind. Strength born from silence is the kind that does not shake when storms come, because it was not built in the titan. Applause. It was built in the quiet, and the quiet never lies. It reflects. It refines. It reveals. In a world that moves faster every day, the man who slows down becomes dangerous, not because he's loud, but because he's clear. So I'll ask you now, when was the last time you sat with yourself without distraction, without noise, without a mask? When was the last time you let the silence speak louder than the world? If your answer is too long ago, then it's time to return, time to focus, time to become unshakable from the inside out. What does inner silence mean to you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear how you practice stillness in a noisy world. Don't live to please. Live true to yourself. 8. Don't live to please. Live true to yourself. Every time you choose approval over truth, you trade your soul for comfort. You betray yourself not loudly, not dramatically, but in quiet compromises that pile up like dust. At first, it seems harmless, a silent nod when you wanted to say no. A smile you forced when your spirit was tired. A path you followed because it kept others happy, even as it dimmed your light. But inch by inch, these betrayals become a life you no longer recognize. The desire to be accepted, to belong, is deeply human. But Stoicism teaches us that virtue cannot coexist with dependence on external validation. Epictetus warned, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Why? Because the crowd often worships comfort, not character. And if you live to please them, you'll shape yourself to fit every mold but your own. Living to please is a prison with invisible walls. It feels safe at first, until the bars close in, because no amount of applause can silence the ache of a life unlived. No amount of approval can replace the power of knowing you are walking your own path. You can't outsource authenticity. You can borrow integrity. And the truth is, people's opinions are fickle. What pleases them today might bore them tomorrow. So why chain your identity to something so fragile? The Stoics didn't preach rebellion for the sake of rebellion. They spoke of harmony with nature, and part of nature is our rational soul, the part of us that knows what's right regardless of who's watching. This is not permission to be selfish or arrogant. It's an invitation to be grounded in something deeper than applause, your own inner compass. Of course, there will be moments of doubt. The fear of rejection runs deep. But let that fear sharpen your awareness, not shape your decisions. Because to live true to yourself means you will be misunderstood, you will be judged, you may even be disliked. But that is the price of freedom. That is the cost of becoming real. There is a power that comes when you stop begging the world to love you and start loving the truth enough to walk with it alone if necessary. When you no longer contort yourself to fit in, but expand into who you were, always meant to become. When you stop living for smiles from the crowd and start building a soul that can stand in silence and still be whole. So no, don't live to please. Please will fade. Applause will die down. But a life lived, true, that endures, that echoes, that transforms. Focus on you. Sharpen your truth and let the world adjust or not. You were not born to perform. You were born to become. Live like it. Strength doesn't come from comfort. 9. Strength doesn't come from comfort. Comfort feels good for a while, but stay there too long, and it turns into a trap. The truth is, comfort doesn't make you stronger. It makes you soft. It lulls you into believing there's no war to fight, no mountain to climb, no weight left to carry. But there is. And deep down you know it. Strength is not forged in the moments when everything is easy. It's born in the fire of resistance. When your body is tired, your mind is doubtful, and quitting whispers in your ear. That is the moment that defines you. Transformation doesn't happen inside the lines of safety. It happens on the edge, of exhaustion on the border between I can't and I'll try once more. Each time you resist the temptation to back down, each time you stretch beyond what you thought was your limit, you raise the standard for your future self. You build muscle, not just of the body, but of the will. And with every rep, every disciplined morning, every time you choose growth over comfort, you're rewriting the story of who you are. But make no mistake, persistence is not always loud. It doesn't always look like greatness. Often it's quiet, lonely, doubt-ridden. But it keeps showing up. And in a world addicted to shortcuts and applause, persistence is your silent rebellion. A Stoic doesn't ask for the easy. A Stoic asks, what am I becoming by staying in this discomfort? Because strength isn't about dominating others, it's about mastering the impulse to quit on yourself. And this mastery, it spills over into how you show up at work, into how you speak to the people you love, into how you carry yourself in the silence of your own mind. Because when you learn to persist, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's unbearable, something changes. You change. You become someone you begin to respect. And in that self-respect lies freedom. So don't chase comfort, chase truth, chase the edge. And remember, every second you persist in the face of pressure, you become someone pressure can't break. Now what if I told you this strength you're building, this persistence you're practicing, it doesn't just live in the gym, in the journal, nor the early morning. What if it's all connected? Every thought, every choice, every neglected part of you. In the final lesson we explore exactly that, why every area of your life is connected and how ignoring one weakens them all. Let's go deeper. Let's finish what we started. Every area of your life is connected. 10. Every area of your life is connected. You may think you can isolate parts of your life, that you can be disciplined in your work but careless with your body, that you can seek wisdom but ignore your finances, that you can demand respect while neglecting self-respect. But life doesn't work in compartments, it moves as one. Every area of your life is connected. When you begin to build yourself, truly build yourself, it spills into everything. The moment you choose to wake up early, to move your body, to control what you consume, you're not just improving your health, you're training your mind. You're teaching yourself that you can be trusted, that your future matters. And that identity slowly reshapes how you speak, how you work, how you love, because it's all connected. A man who feels strong in his body walks differently into a room. A woman who manages her time with discipline handles chaos with grace. Your physical vitality affects your emotional stability. Your inner clarity sharpens your outer results. You are not a collection of separate selves. You are one self, and every choice reinforces who you are becoming. It's easy to overlook the small decisions, to believe they don't matter. But every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you cast a vote for the person you want to be. A single page read, "Today shapes the wisdom you carry tomorrow." A single meal respected today builds the discipline you'll rely on in a storm. Tiny hinges swing heavy doors always, so stop waiting for a big breakthrough. Stop hoping for that one moment that changes everything. The truth is, change has already begun in the quiet, invisible moments when no one's watching. It's happening now in the choices you make today. Real peace doesn't come from perfect conditions. It comes from knowing you've done the work. That if life throws fire, you've trained in the heat. That no matter what happens, you're ready. Marcus Aurelius said, Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Because when you focus on building yourself, the ripple effect is inevitable. Your health improves, your relationships shift, your finances follow your discipline. Your mind becomes your ally, not your enemy. And one day you'll realize it wasn't magic. It was consistency. It was alignment. It was the quiet decision to focus on you until you won. Remember this: no one is coming. No conclusion. Perfect moment is waiting. It all begins when you choose to focus on yourself. Not out of selfishness, but out of responsibility. Every time you resist distraction, every time you show up despite fear, you are building something unshakable within. That is what Stoicism teaches. Freedom is found in self-mastery. Strength is born in discipline. Peace is earned through clarity. So don't stop now. Keep going. One decision at a time, one day at a time. If this message spoke to something deep in you, then don't stop here. Watch the next video now, showing on the screen. Keep sharpening the mind, keep strengthening the soul, and above all, be patient with yourself, but never passive. Take care, stay focused, and remember, you are the path.